Hello, let's do a game. It's Magnus Carlsen against Francisco Vallejo. It's the Grand Slam final of 2012. And again, it's French. Looks like everyone played French in this tournament. Magnus played his main weapon. We saw Fabiano did it, and now Vallejo does it. So let's see what happens. So Vallejo goes for the Vinaver against against Fabiano. Magnus played like this. No, it was Fabiano played this against Magnus. So Fabiano was white and Magnus was black, and that game continued like this and was very interesting. This is like a main line. This ED5 is more uncommon. It's known as exchange variation. It's known to being boring opening, but the best players, they love exchange French and they love Russian. That's something called Petrov, which always has this structure with no pawns on the E file and like this, and also a lot of Botvinnik. No, not Botvinnik. I mean Berlin defense also gets this. So the top players, they love this structure. They think it's a lot fun to play, but it's hard to play for an amateur, and it can be a little bit boring being so symmetrical. But for a top player, they love playing this structure for both black and white, because they can appreciate chess nuances quite a bit better than someone like me can. So there is a little bit of an advantage, is that maybe you don't want the bishop here, but it's fine. It's supposed to be nothing. So interestingly, Magnus chooses this setup. It is sometimes combined with maybe bishop f4, d2 and long castling. It's sometimes played, but Vallejo do the more standard knight f6. Sometimes black can do c5 here also, with the idea to push c4, and often white should take that and play against the Isu isolated pawn. And against the isolated pawn, maybe this setup is not correct, but let's see what happens. This is normal, trying to get out the bishop, and if it gets chased, it can get traded here anyway. And Magnus do the most solid move, short castling. If something like this, let's just do something. The computer, they don't think this is. They think this is good for black to play a long castling apparently. So Magnus does the objectively best thing to castle short, like both players does here. And the disadvantage for black to play like this is that white can exchange the bishop here and get the bishop pair. But often that's no biggie. Black can also take here and give white a double pawn and play with two knights against two bishop. That would also be quite this would have been an interesting battle to see if Magnus can win with the two bishop against these knights. But he didn't do that. He played this one. That's also fine. And then Magnus retreats the knight. It doesn't have much future here, so it's better to strengthen the center with c3 and maybe go out with the bishop later. Here it's a little bit of a strange place, because this pawn covers these two, so it's not possible for the knight to go somewhere right now. So that tells me that Magnus is preparing f4, f5, or maybe h4, h5, but probably f4, f5. So let's see what he does. He is going for f4, yeah. And black now when he did that, black can trade the bishop and relieve some pressure here. And interestingly, Magnus is sacrificing a pawn here, but not really a sacrifice because d5 is hanging also, something like this, and he can win back the pawn on d5. So that's why he plays c6 to cover that. And now Magnus does this one. This is a piece sacrifice, so it's possible for black to play here and then take the piece. But as you can see, Magnus calculated this, that he can do like this and this, and these pieces here is winning for white. So that's not good. So instead he does knight f8. That's the safer. Magnus has played quite good here. I think he's good chances for an attack, but black has played solid defense here with these pieces. And there was a saying by Bent Larsen that you can never get mated if you have a knight on f8, so that's why he's doing like that. So here this is also typical that you kind of want them to trade so you can open the f-file. So that's why you put the rook here to try to provoke this. And black doesn't take that, but he does another mistake here, f6. It weakens the king side too much. Now the position is equal, but after this white is clearly better, because this strong move h5 opening up for the white pieces here. I guess if the pawn was on f7, then maybe you could take back with the pawn and play with the doubled pawn here, which still would keep down white's pieces. But now the knight, as I said before, it was like a problem piece because it was dominated by that pawn. Now it has good chances to go to f5 and attack. So let's see what Magnus does here. So now knight f5 and maybe this fork here, because the pawn is pinned, is some kind of a threat. So black decides to play g6 first, and now he threatens the fork, so he has to move the king. Here apparently Magnus makes a mistake. He plays knight h4, try to win this pawn. Better was knight here, but that looks risky because you can go here and try to win the knight, but then apparently this here, then use the slow move. And apparently this is good for white. This knight is pretty annoying. This king is like inside the corner. These knights has to protect each other, so it's just comfortable positional advantage for white, but I can't see anything decisive here. Instead Magnus played here, which allows f5, so I guess it's f5 that they want to avoid. Let's see if he played like this. Can't he play f5 anyway, or what? Apparently then it's time he can do like that. Okay, trade that one away, so it's some kind of a difference here. Now f5, and white doesn't have time for this one because the queen protects like that, but apparently that's a mistake and he should have allowed it. Let's look here. But now white wins this pawn. this looks good for white actually, one pawn more. Maybe that was black's best chance. Let's see how it could have proceeded. He did there, and it actually does not prevent g4. Why not? Just because of this. Okay, that's interesting. He wants to play f5 next. Just have it like this. Yeah, it's interesting play for white here. It's very complicated here, so let's see what happened. That's weird that he doesn't check here. He can check here. But I guess he's afraid of rook e1 then. Now with this knight here defended by 2 pawns, it's a clear positional advantage for white. This knight is just very strong, even if black has good defense. And this bishop is bad now, but maybe after g4 it can come to life. And it also, if black would try to go here with a knight, it could always be taken. So white has a clear advantage here. Yeah, so now black didn't. It's bad for black to take an e5 because white gets a protected pass, so it's just bad to take it. But it's also bad to have this dangerous knight here forever. So black decides to take, but it was probably not correct to do that. Only way is if he maybe can do g5 or maybe trade away. Like trade away these central pawns here, but looks like he can't do that. Now queen e3 looks very strong. This looks actually quite dangerous for white to allow like queen e3 and maybe a rook like this, but as we can see here from the notation by the computer, it's not really working. Best would have been to check again. I see, this is fantastic. I didn't see that one. This one, he can win a piece by doing like this. Black has won a piece, but of course these 3 pawns are stronger than a piece, but still quite even game. That's a funny tactic actually. That's a fun tactic that you can win by sacrificing your queen. You can win a piece because of this fork, and that's pretty fun tactic actually. So he needs to move and this is still a bit better apparently. The game could have continued something like this. Yeah, black has some chances for counterplay here. Definitely, especially now when he got a passer of his own. Yeah, the game would have continued there. Let's see what happened. This still looks fine, but you can see here in 2 moves he will make a big mistake here. So let's see what happens. Now white only has 1 move. We have to go here to protect here. And now he rook f7. That's a little bit weird. Looks more natural to go rook d7 or to give the check. Let's see here. Computer likes to check the most here and take the pawn. Yeah, it also defends. If you want to defend here, looks better to take this pawn and defend than to defend with the rook. Okay, so queen here, threatening mate, has to defend that. White has to play exact, but the computer thinks he's winning, but he has to play exact here. So let's see what happened. He did queen h5, that's the best move. And in, I guess it's time trouble, he blunders the rook here. That's quite weak for a grandmaster to not see, like, why is he going here, of course, to take the rook. So he just blunders that. Maybe he thought this is drawing checks, but yeah, doesn't look like it. Yeah. And checks is over and it's game over. Okay, nice game by Magnus. Next game is against Vichy. See you then.